The massive Zephyrian battleship times Eternal Glory times dropped out of hyperspace with a thunderous flash of blue light. Admiral Kesvala stood on the bridge, her forearms crossed behind her back as she watched the viewscreen show their target. The human colony world of New Sol lay before them. A blue and green marble spinning peacefully in space. "All ships report ready, Admiral," her tactical officer announced. The Zephyrian had scales that shifted from purple to gold when excited, and right now they gleamed brightly. "Orbital bombardment platforms are charging. Ground forces stand by for deployment." Kesvala nodded slowly. This was supposed to be easy. Humans were weak, their technology primitive, their military forces scattered across too many small worlds. The Empire had conquered dozens of their colonies in the past year. Each time, the pattern was the same. The humans would fight desperately, die bravely, and ultimately fall before superior Zephyrian might. "Begin standard scanning procedures," she ordered. "I want full population counts. Military installations marked. And surrender. Broadcast. Prepared." The sensor officer worked at his station, tentacles dancing across the controls. After several minutes, he looked up with confusion written across his face. "Explain. The planet shows signs of recent habitation, but..." He paused, checking his instruments again. "I'm not detecting any life signs." "None at all." Kesvala felt her stomach tighten. "That's impossible. Intelligence reports showed 8 million humans on this world just 6 months ago. Check your equipment." "Equipment is functioning normally, Admiral. I'm reading empty cities, abandoned spaceports, inactive power grids. But there's no sign of struggle, no damage from orbital bombardment, no mass graves." The bridge fell silent, except for the soft hum of ship systems. Kesvala moved to the sensor station and studied the readings herself. The data was clear and disturbing. New Sol looked like everyone had simply vanished. "Deploy reconnaissance drones," she commanded. "I want detailed scans of the major population centers." 9. "Deploy reconnaissance drones." "Drones." 9. 9. 9. 9. 9. The drones launched from the belly of the Time's Eternal Glory asterisk, small silver objects that raced toward the planet's surface. Their cameras transmitted back images that made everyone on the bridge lean forward in amazement. The cities were intact but completely empty. Streets that should have been filled with vehicles and pedestrians showed nothing but wind-blown debris. Spaceports that should have housed civilian ships and cargo haulers contained only empty landing pads. Even the orbital defense platforms hung silent and dark in space. "Look at this," the tactical officer called out. He had been analyzing the abandoned military bases. Their defense installations were dismantled, not destroyed. Someone carefully removed all the weapons and equipment. Kesvala studied the images. The human bases showed clear signs of systematic evacuation. Equipment had been removed in an orderly fashion. Data storage units had been wiped clean. Even the furniture was gone. "This wasn't a panic evacuation," she said slowly. "This was planned, organized. They knew we were coming." Her communications officer, a young Zephyrian with nervous energy, looked up from her station. "Admiral, I'm picking up some unusual energy signatures from the planet's surface." "What kind of signatures?" "Unknown, ma'am. They're not matching any technology in our databases. The patterns suggest advanced power systems, but they're unlike anything we've seen from human colonies before." The Admiral ordered a full survey team to the surface. 2 hours later, their report came back and made the situation even more puzzling. The humans had left behind infrastructure that was far more advanced than Imperial intelligence had suggested. Power plants using unknown energy sources, communication arrays with capabilities that exceeded some Zephyrian technology, manufacturing facilities that could have produced equipment the Empire didn't know humans possessed. "How did our intelligence miss this?" Kesvala demanded during a conference call with her senior staff. We were told these humans were barely above primitive level. Commander Theknol, her intelligence chief, shifted uncomfortably. Admiral, our reports were based on observations of human military actions in previous conquests. They always used basic weapons, simple tactics, outdated ships. There was no indication they possessed advanced technology. Yet here we are, looking at evidence that suggests otherwise. The Admiral paced the conference room, her tail lashing with frustration. Either our intelligence network is completely incompetent, or these humans have been deliberately hiding their capabilities. The possibility sent a chill through the assembled officers. If humans had been intentionally appearing weaker than they really were, it suggested a level of strategic thinking that the Empire had not credited them with. "Ma'am," the tactical officer spoke up hesitantly, "there's something else. The way they evacuated this world. It wasn't random. Our analysis suggests they moved everything to predetermined locations. This was part of a larger plan." Kesvala stared out the conference room window at the empty planet below. 8 million humans didn't just disappear. They had to go somewhere. But where? And why had they abandoned a world they had spent decades building? "Send a message to Imperial Command," she finally ordered. "Report that New Sol has been evacuated by unknown means. Request updated intelligence on human capabilities and current locations of missing populations." As her communications team sent the report, Kesvala couldn't shake the feeling that something was very wrong. The Empire had been fighting humans for over a year, and every battle had followed the same pattern. Humans fought bravely but ultimately lost to superior firepower and technology. They had never shown the ability to coordinate large-scale evacuations or hide advanced technology. But the evidence before her suggested that everything they thought they knew about humanity might be wrong. The empty cities, the advanced infrastructure, the perfect coordination of the evacuation. It all pointed to a species that was far more capable than anyone had realized. She ordered the fleet to remain in orbit while ground teams conducted a thorough investigation. Whatever the humans were planning, whatever game they were playing, the Empire needed answers. The alternative, that they had been systematically underestimating their enemy, was too dangerous to consider. As night fell on the empty world below, Admiral Kesvala stood alone on the observation deck, staring at the dark cities and wondering where 8 million humans had gone. Somewhere in the darkness between the stars, she knew, the missing populations were watching and waiting. The question that kept her awake was simple. Waiting for what? The crystal spires of the Imperial capital world gleamed under the light of 3 suns as High Command gathered in emergency session. Fleet Admiral Yeth-Kora, Supreme Commander of all Imperial forces, stood before a massive holographic display showing the locations of dozens of empty human worlds. "This is the situation," she announced to the assembled military leaders. "In the past 3 months, we have discovered 47 human colonies completely evacuated. No signs of struggle. No indication of where the populations went. Our total count of missing humans now exceeds 200 million. The room buzzed with nervous conversation. General Vex Tal, head of ground forces, raised one of his 6 arms. "Admiral, our intelligence suggests the evacuations were coordinated across multiple star systems. The timing was too precise to be coincidental. That's what concerns me," Yeth-Kora replied. "These humans have demonstrated organizational capabilities we never suspected. The question is, what are they organizing for?" Light years away from the Imperial capital, Commander Jinsu Park sat in a small cafe on the neutral world of Harmony Station. To anyone watching, he appeared to be just another human trader conducting business. His dark hair was cut short, and he wore the simple clothes of a merchant. But behind his calm expression, he was carefully monitoring Imperial communications. His companion, a blue-skinned Andalite named Veltran, leaned across the table. "The Empire is getting nervous," she whispered. Their patrol fleets are searching every system, demanding information from neutral worlds. Jinsu nodded slowly. Good. Let them search. They won't find what they're looking for. My government is under pressure to reveal what we know about human movements. Veltran continued. The Empire is threatening trade sanctions if we don't cooperate. Tell your people to stay strong, Jinsu said quietly. This will all be over soon. What the Empire didn't know was that Jinsu wasn't really a traitor. He was a commander in the Human Defense Coalition, and his job was to coordinate with sympathetic alien species while monitoring Imperial activities. The evacuation of human worlds had been planned for years, and every step was proceeding exactly as intended. Back on the Imperial capital, the emergency session continued. Admiral Yethkora activated new sections of the holographic display, showing patrol routes and search patterns. We have deployed 1/3 of our total fleet strength to hunt for these missing humans, she announced. So far, our efforts have yielded nothing. It's as if 200 million people have simply vanished from existence. Commander Theknol from the Intelligence Division stood up. Admiral, we have detected some unusual energy signatures in deep space. Long-range sensors have picked up anomalous readings in sectors that should be empty. What kind of anomalies? Unknown, ma'am. The signatures appear and disappear randomly. They don't match any known technology in our databases. Admiral Yethkora felt a growing sense of unease. The Empire had ruled the galaxy for over 1,000 years through superior technology and military strength. They had conquered hundreds of worlds and dozens of alien species. But humans were proving to be unlike any enemy they had faced before. Double our search efforts, she commanded. I want every patrol increased. Question every merchant ship, every transport, every civilian vessel. Someone, somewhere, knows where these humans have gone. Meanwhile, Jinsu received an encrypted message on his communicator. The text was simple. Phase 2 initiated. All units report ready. He smiled slightly and deleted the message. Across the galaxy, the Empire's increased patrols were beginning to strain their resources. Ships that should have been protecting Imperial worlds were instead racing through empty space, chasing phantom signals and investigating false leads. Supply lines that had operated smoothly for centuries were now stretched thin, as the military demanded more fuel, more equipment, more personnel for the search effort. On the industrial world of Kareth Prime, workers in the shipyards complained about impossible production schedules. The Empire was demanding new warships faster than they could be built. Overtime shifts ran around the clock, but it still wasn't enough to keep up with military demands. We're pushing our manufacturing capabilities beyond safe limits, Chief Engineer Motkala reported to his supervisors. If we continue at this pace, we risk equipment failures and quality problems. But his concerns fell on deaf ears. High Command wanted results, and they wanted them immediately. The strain was beginning to show in other ways, too. Imperial forces that had been confident and professional were becoming frustrated and angry. Morale dropped as patrol after patrol returned empty-handed. Some commanders began questioning their orders openly. Captain Rex Voth of the Destroyer Times, Iron Fist Times, summed up the growing mood. We're chasing ghosts, while our real enemies could be planning anything. This is madness. Back on Harmony Station, Jinsu met with representatives from a dozen neutral species. The room was carefully soundproofed, and sophisticated jamming devices prevented any electronic surveillance. The Empire is pressuring all of you for information about human movements, he said to the assembled aliens. I understand this puts you in difficult positions. Veltran spoke for the group. Our worlds depend on trade with the Empire. If they impose sanctions, our economies will suffer. Some of our governments are considering cooperating with their demands. Jinsu nodded understandingly. I can't ask you to sacrifice your people's welfare for our cause. But I will say this. The Empire's strength is not as absolute as they want you to believe. They're spending enormous resources searching for humans who don't want to be found. Every ship they send on patrol is a ship that's not protecting their own worlds. A insectoid delegate from the Hive Collective clicked her mandibles thoughtfully. You're suggesting their military is becoming overextended. I'm suggesting that empires that rely on fear and force often contain the seeds of their own destruction, Jinsu replied carefully. Patient observers might notice opportunities arising from current circumstances. The meeting continued for several hours, with Jinsu carefully sharing just enough information to keep the neutral worlds from cooperating fully with the Empire, while revealing nothing about humanity's real plans. As the session ended, Veltron approached him privately. Commander, my people have noticed something. Imperial patrol schedules are becoming predictable. They're following set patterns because they're short on ships and crew. Jinsu filed this information away carefully. Every piece of intelligence about Imperial movements was valuable for what was coming. That night, as he prepared his regular report to human leadership, Jinsu reflected on how perfectly the plan was proceeding. The Empire believed they were hunting for frightened refugees. They had no idea they were being systematically weakened and positioned exactly where humanity wanted them. The missing humans weren't hiding in fear. They were gathering their strength, building their forces, and preparing for the moment when they would reveal themselves to the galaxy. And when that moment came, the Empire would discover that they had been playing a game whose rules they never understood. Jinsu encoded his report and transmitted it into the darkness between the stars, where patient eyes were watching and mighty hands were preparing for war. The Imperial Supply Convoy times Prosperity's Gift times had been traveling the same route for 3 years without incident. Captain Zekmora had grown comfortable with the routine. Pick up manufactured goods from the industrial worlds, deliver them to military bases along the frontier, return with raw materials. Simple, safe, profitable. That's why he was so surprised when his communications officer reported losing contact with the escort destroyer times Sharp Talon *. When did we last hear from them? Zekmora asked, his scaled hide shifting to worried blue. 47 minutes ago, Captain. They acknowledged our position report and confirmed all clear. Then, nothing. The convoy consisted of 12 cargo ships, protected by 2 destroyers and a light cruiser. Losing contact with 1 escort ship was unusual, but not unprecedented. Equipment failures happened, even in the Imperial Navy. Try raising the times Silver Strike *, he ordered, referring to the other destroyer. No response from times Silver Strike times either, sir. Now Zekmora was genuinely worried. 2 equipment failures at the same time stretched credibility. What about the cruiser times? Vigilant *. Also not responding, Captain. A cold fear gripped the cargo ship commander. 3 military vessels didn't all suffer communication failures simultaneously. Something was very wrong. All ships, emergency formation, he broadcast to the remaining cargo vessels. Prepare for immediate hyperspace jump. But before they could engage their hyperspace drives, the cargo ships began reporting the same problem. No response from their escort vessels. One by one, the military ships guarding the convoy had simply vanished. The cargo ships were alone in space, defenseless against whatever had eliminated their protection. Similar incidents were happening throughout Imperial space. The destroyer times, Iron Will times disappeared while investigating a distress signal. The cruiser times, Eternal Victory times, vanished between 2 hyperspace jumps. Entire patrol squadrons went silent, their last communications reporting nothing unusual. At first, Imperial Command assumed these were isolated incidents, equipment malfunctions, navigational errors, perhaps attacks by pirates or rebels. But as the reports accumulated, a disturbing pattern emerged. Fleet Admiral Yethkora stood before a tactical display showing the locations of missing ships. Red dots marked where Imperial vessels had last been seen. The pattern that emerged made her stomach clench with dread. 73 ships in 6 weeks, she announced to her staff. Destroyers, cruisers, patrol boats, supply vessels, All gone without sending distress signals. All gone without any sign of battle damage found in the debris. Ma'am, her intelligence chief spoke up nervously. Some of the missing ships were equipped with our most advanced sensor arrays. If someone or something was attacking them, they should have detected it. Unless whatever is attacking them is using technology we don't understand, Yethkora replied grimly. In the depths of space, far from any Imperial patrol routes, something vast moved through the darkness. The object was larger than most space stations, but it generated no emissions that Imperial sensors could detect. Its hull was black as the void between stars, and its technology was unlike anything the Zephyrian Empire had ever seen. Inside the mysterious vessel, Commander Sarah Kim Park stood before a holographic display showing Imperial fleet movements. Her dark hair was pulled back in a military style, and her uniform bore the insignia of the Human Defense Coalition. Target acquired, reported Lieutenant Choi Min-jun from the tactical station. Imperial Patrol Squadron, 3 light cruisers, current heading 27 Mark 6. Distance to target, 40,000 kilometers and closing. They haven't detected us. Sarah nodded calmly. Begin approach sequence. Remember, we want their ships disabled, not destroyed. Intel needs their communication logs intact. The invisible ship moved closer to the Imperial patrol. Advanced stealth systems kept it hidden, while specialized weapons prepared to fire. When the attack came, it was swift and precise. Electromagnetic pulses disabled the Imperial ship's electronics, while tractor beams pulled them into the larger vessel's cargo holds. Within minutes, 3 Imperial cruisers had vanished from space, as if they had never existed. Back on the Imperial capital, the mystery of the disappearing ships was causing panic in the highest levels of government. Emperor Vorth Kallen himself had demanded answers, but none were forthcoming. Your Magnificence, Admiral Yethkora reported during an emergency briefing. We have no evidence of what is taking our ships. No wreckage has been found. No distress signals have been received. Our vessels are, simply, gone. The Emperor's 4 eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made even a senior admiral uncomfortable. Are you suggesting our ships are being destroyed so completely that no trace remains? That's one possibility. Your Magnificence. Another is that they're being captured. Captured? By whom? What force in the galaxy has the capability to capture Imperial warships without detection? The question hung in the air like a poisonous cloud. Every species in known space had been catalogued, their technologies analyzed, their military capabilities assessed. None of them possessed the ability to make Imperial ships disappear without a trace. There is one possibility we haven't fully considered, Yethkora said carefully. The missing humans. The Emperor's expression shifted from anger to disbelief. You're suggesting that primitive humans are responsible for this? Your Magnificence. We now know that human technology is more advanced than our intelligence indicated. The evacuated colonies showed capabilities we didn't expect. Perhaps we've underestimated them in other areas as well. The suggestion was almost treasonous. The Zephyrian Empire's dominance was built on the assumption that they possessed the most advanced technology in the galaxy. To suggest that humans might have superior capabilities challenged the very foundation of imperial power. But the evidence was becoming impossible to ignore. The systematic evacuation of human colonies had required coordination and resources beyond what anyone thought humans possessed. The disappearing ships suggested technology that surpassed imperial capabilities. On a dozen different worlds, Jinsu Park's network of observers was carefully documenting the Empire's growing desperation. Every missing ship report, every failed patrol, every sign of imperial weakness was recorded and transmitted to hidden bases where human strategists analyzed the information. The plan was working perfectly. Imperial forces were spread thin, searching for missing human populations. Their patrol schedules had become predictable, as they tried to cover too much territory with too few ships. Their supply lines were vulnerable, because escorts kept disappearing. Most importantly, their confidence was shaking. The Empire had ruled through fear and superior force for 1,000 years. But now they were facing an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, and couldn't understand. In a secure bunker deep beneath Harmony Station, Jin-Soo met with his senior intelligence operatives. The room was filled with holographic displays showing Imperial fleet positions, supply routes, and patrol schedules. Phase 3 is proceeding according to plan, he reported. Imperial naval strength has been reduced by 12%. Their morale is declining rapidly. Intelligence sources report increasing numbers of requests for reassignment away from frontier duties. Lieutenant Lee Yuan-woo, his chief analyst, looked up from her data screens. Sir, we're seeing increased Imperial pressure on neutral worlds. They're demanding access to shipping records, communication logs, even private citizens' travel documents. That's expected, Jin-Soo replied. Desperate predators become less careful about hiding their true nature. Let the galaxy see how the Empire treats its allies when it feels threatened. The meeting continued as they refined plans for the next phase of operations. Every detail had to be perfect, every contingency planned for. Soon, very soon, the hidden human fleet would reveal itself to the galaxy. And when that moment came, the Empire would learn that they had been fighting shadows while the real storm gathered strength in the darkness between the stars. The grand throne room of the Imperial capital had been transformed into a celebration hall. Golden banners hung from crystal pillars, and holographic displays showed the Empire's territorial conquests over the past year. Emperor Vorth Kalan sat on his massive throne, overlooking thousands of assembled dignitaries, military officers, and planetary governors. Today, the Emperor announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber, we celebrate the expansion of our glorious realm. 47 new worlds have joined our empire. Our borders have grown by 12%. Our enemies have been scattered before our might. The assembled crowd cheered dutifully. But Admiral Yeth Kora noticed the celebration felt forced. Too many officers had hollow looks in their eyes. Too many planetary governors kept glancing nervously at their communication devices. The missing ships, the vanished humans, the growing uncertainty, all of it cast a shadow over what should have been a moment of triumph. The primitive humans who once defied us have been driven from their worlds, the Emperor continued. Their colonies are empty. Their resistance has crumbled. Soon, we will locate their hiding places and complete their subjugation. More cheers. But Yethkora could hear the uncertainty beneath the noise. Where were the humans hiding? How had they evacuated so many people so quickly? Why hadn't any trace of them been found? High above the celebration, in a maintenance tunnel that no security scan had detected, Captain Min-Soo Jang crouched beside a sophisticated sensor array. His black tactical suit made him nearly invisible in the shadows, and advanced jamming equipment prevented any electronic detection. He had been infiltrating Imperial installations for 3 months, gathering intelligence and preparing for this moment. Through his earpiece, he heard Jin-Soo Park's calm voice. All teams report status. Team Alpha in position, Min-Soo whispered. Team Beta ready, came another voice. Team Gamma standing by. Team Delta confirmed. Jin-Soo's voice carried a note of satisfaction. Excellent. Begin final preparations. The signal will come soon. Far from the Imperial capital, in a region of space that appeared empty on all sensors, something magnificent was taking shape. The darkness between stars suddenly erupted with points of light as hundreds of ships began dropping their stealth systems. First came the destroyers, sleek vessels with lines unlike anything in Imperial naval architecture. Then cruisers, their hulls gleaming with unknown alloys. Battleships followed. Massive and powerful, bristling with weapons that no Imperial scientist had ever imagined. And finally, the flagships. 3 enormous vessels that dwarfed even the largest Imperial dreadnoughts. Their hulls bore the symbol of the Human Defense Coalition, a blue and green planet surrounded by protective hands. Admiral Park Hee-jin stood on the bridge of the flagship Times New Earth asterisk, watching as her fleet assembled. She had waited 2 years for this moment. 2 years of hiding in the dark, while the Empire grew overconfident and careless. "Fleet status report," she commanded. "All ships have dropped stealth systems and are forming battle formation," her tactical officer reported. 374 vessels ready for action. Communication arrays are online. Hyperspace drives standing by. All crew report ready for combat operations. Admiral Park nodded slowly. The human fleet wasn't just large. It was technologically superior to anything the Empire possessed. Years of secret research and development, aided by sympathetic alien species, had produced weapons and defenses that would shock the galaxy. But this wasn't meant to be a battle. This was meant to be a revelation. Back on the Imperial capital, the celebration was reaching its climax. Emperor Vorthkallen raised a crystal goblet filled with rare wine from a conquered world. "To the Empire," he declared. "May our reign last 10,000 years. To the Empire," the crowd responded. At that moment, every communication device in the chamber suddenly activated. Screens that had been showing territorial maps flickered and changed. Holographic displays shifted to show something that made the entire assembly gasp in shock. A massive human fleet hung in space, weapons powered but not targeted, engines at ready but not advancing. The sight was so unexpected, so impossible according to everything the Empire believed about human capabilities, that complete silence fell over the celebration. Admiral Yethkora felt her blood turn to ice. The fleet on the displays was enormous, larger than the entire Imperial Home Defense Force. The ships were clearly of human design, but their technology appeared advanced beyond Imperial understanding. "How is this possible?" someone whispered. Emperor Vorthkallen's 4 eyes were fixed on the displays in disbelief. "Where did they come from? Our sensors should have detected a fleet that large." Then the displays changed again. A human face appeared on every screen. A woman in a military uniform, with commander's insignia that no Imperial officer recognized. When she spoke, her voice was calm, confident, and carried throughout the celebration hall. "Citizens of the Zephyrian Empire," Admiral Park Hee-jin began. "I am Admiral Park Hee-jin of the Human Defense Coalition. For too long, your empire has believed that humanity was weak, primitive, and easily conquered. Today, that illusion ends." The assembled Imperial elite stared in shocked silence as the human admiral continued. "Your fleets have been searching for our missing populations. You will not find them. They are safe, protected, and preparing for humanity's return to the galactic stage. Your ships have been disappearing because we have been watching you, learning your weaknesses, and choosing when to reveal ourselves." Admiral Yethkora's tactical mind was racing. The implications were staggering. If humans had been capable of hiding a fleet this large, if they possessed technology superior to Imperial capabilities, then everything the Empire had believed about their enemies was wrong. "We do not come in anger," the human admiral continued. "We come with an offer. End your aggression against human worlds. Withdraw your forces to your original borders. Accept humanity as equals in the galactic community. Do this, and there need be no war between us." Emperor Vorthkallen found his voice at last. "This is impossible. Human technology is primitive. Your forces are scattered." Admiral Park smiled on the screen. "Your Majesty, you have been fighting shadows while we gathered our strength. You have been hunting ghosts while we prepared for this moment. The choice now is yours. Peace between equals, or war against a foe you never truly understood." Throughout the chamber, Imperial officers were checking their own sensor readings, confirming that the massive human fleet was real. Communication officers were frantically trying to contact Imperial naval forces. only to discover that many ships were still missing or out of position. Jinsu Park's voice came through Minsu's earpiece. Phase 4 complete. Begin withdrawal to extraction points. Minsu smiled as he carefully packed his equipment. The Empire's celebration had become their moment of awakening. The humans weren't hiding anymore. They were ready to take their place as a major power in the galaxy, whether the Empire liked it or not. In the throne room below, Emperor Vorth Kalan stared at the impossible fleet on his displays and realized that his empire's thousand-year dominance might be coming to an end. The silence in the Imperial throne room stretched like a taut wire, ready to snap. Emperor Vorth Kalan stared at the holographic displays, showing the massive human fleet. His 4 eyes wide with disbelief. Around him, thousands of Imperial officials and military officers stood frozen in shock. Admiral Park Hae-jin's image remained on every screen, waiting patiently for a response. Behind her, the bridge of the Times New Earth Times hummed with quiet efficiency as her crew monitored Imperial communications and fleet movements. Your Majesty, Admiral Park said calmly. Your military commanders are currently calculating whether your forces can match our fleet in battle. I will save them the trouble. They cannot. Emperor Vorth Kalan's scales shifted from ceremonial gold to angry red. You dare threaten the Empire? We have ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years. We threaten no one, Admiral Park replied. We offer choice. Your empire can continue to exist and prosper, but not through conquest and oppression. The age of imperial expansion has ended. Admiral Yeth Kora stepped forward, her tactical mind overriding her shock. Human commander, how long have you possessed this fleet? Our intelligence showed no indication of such military capability. Your intelligence saw what we chose to show you, Admiral Park answered. For 3 years, humanity has been preparing for this moment. We evacuated our colonies not in fear, but as part of a strategic withdrawal. We allowed your forces to chase shadows while we built our strength. On the bridge of the Times New Earth Asterisk, Jinsu Park stood beside Admiral Park, now wearing the uniform of a human military commander rather than the simple clothes of a trader. His infiltration mission was complete, his intelligence network having provided crucial information about Imperial weaknesses and fleet positions. Admiral, reported the communications officer, we're receiving surrender requests from several Imperial frontier commanders. They're reporting that their forces are outnumbered and requesting permission to withdraw. Admiral Park nodded. Acknowledge their messages. Any Imperial commander who withdraws peacefully from human space will be allowed safe passage. The offer of mercy sent ripples of surprise through the Imperial leadership. They had expected conquest, destruction, revenge for the Empire's aggressive expansion. Instead, the humans were offering terms that allowed the Empire to survive with dignity. This is weakness, shouted General Vextal from the crowd of Imperial officials. They show mercy because they fear the cost of true battle. Admiral Park's expression remained calm. General, we show mercy because we understand the cost of war. Your empire has spent the last year hunting for missing human populations, weakening your defenses, and stretching your forces thin. Your patrol schedules have become predictable. Your supply lines are vulnerable. Many of your best ships are scattered across the galaxy, searching empty space for enemies who were never there. The truth of her words hit the Imperial leadership like a physical blow. Their strategic position was far weaker than they had realized. The search for missing humans had indeed spread their forces too thin, left their core worlds less defended, made their military vulnerable in ways they hadn't considered. Emperor Vorth Kalan looked to his military advisors for guidance, but saw only uncertainty and fear in their faces. The Empire's strength had always been based on superior technology and coordinated military might. If humans possessed better technology and superior strategic planning, then the foundation of imperial power was shattered. What exactly are you proposing? The Emperor asked finally. Simple terms, Admiral Park replied. Withdraw all Imperial forces to your pre-expansion borders. recognize human independence and territorial sovereignty, establish diplomatic relations based on mutual respect rather than domination. In exchange, humanity will guarantee the security of imperial core worlds and offer to share certain technologies that could benefit both our peoples. The offer was generous beyond anything the Empire had expected. Not only were the humans offering to spare imperial worlds from conquest, they were proposing an alliance that could benefit both species. But it meant abandoning the imperial dream of galactic domination. It meant accepting that other species could be equals rather than subjects. And if we refuse? Admiral Yethkora asked quietly. Admiral Park's expression didn't change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. Then you will discover that humanity learned much during our time hiding in the darkness. We learned patience. We learned strategy. We learned to build alliances with other species who have grown tired of imperial oppression. As if summoned by her words, new ships began appearing on the displays. Andalite vessels with their distinctive blue hulls. Hive collective ships that moved in perfect formation. Even ships from species the Empire had considered completely subjugated. You see, Admiral Park continued, humanity's greatest strength was never our technology or our weapons. It was our ability to make friends where others made enemies. Half the galaxy has been waiting for someone strong enough to stand up to imperial aggression. Today, they found that someone. The revelation that humanity had built a coalition of alien allies sent shockwaves through the imperial leadership. The Empire had always maintained control by keeping different species divided, preventing them from forming alliances that could challenge imperial power. If humans had succeeded in uniting multiple species against the Empire, then the strategic situation was hopeless. Emperor Vorth Kalan sank back into his throne, the weight of the moment crushing his imperial pride. Around him, his advisors whispered frantically about military options, diplomatic possibilities, and ways to salvage the situation. We need time to consider your terms, he said finally. Of course, Admiral Park agreed. You have 72 hours to withdraw your forces from human space and provide a formal response to our proposal. During that time, our fleet will maintain position but will not advance. Any Imperial ship that attempts to attack our forces will be destroyed, but we will not fire first. Jinsu stepped forward on the human bridge. Admiral, incoming message from our intelligence network. Several neutral worlds are formally requesting human protection from Imperial retaliation. Granted, Admiral Park replied without hesitation. Inform them that any species seeking freedom from Imperial oppression will find humanity ready to assist. The message was broadcast openly, ensuring that every world in the Empire heard humanity's offer. Within hours, independence movements that had been suppressed for decades began stirring on dozens of Imperial worlds. Emperor Vorth Kalan realized that his choice was no longer between war and peace. It was between negotiated withdrawal and complete Imperial collapse. The human fleet had the military power to enforce their demands, but more importantly, they had inspired hope in every species that dreamed of freedom from Imperial rule. 3 days later, Emperor Vorth Kalan signed the Treaty of New Harmony, formally recognizing human independence and establishing diplomatic relations between the Empire and the Human Defense Coalition. The signing ceremony was broadcast throughout the galaxy, marking the end of the Empire's expansion and the beginning of a new era of interspecies cooperation. Admiral Park stood beside the Emperor as they signed the historic document, representing not just humanity, but a new vision of galactic civilization based on mutual respect rather than conquest. Your Majesty, she said quietly as they completed the ceremony. This is not an ending. It's a beginning. Humanity looks forward to working with the Empire as partners rather than enemies. The Emperor nodded slowly, recognizing that while his dreams of galactic domination were finished, his people now had the chance to build something better. The age of imperial conquest was over, but the age of galactic cooperation was just beginning. In the years that followed, historians would call it the moment when the galaxy grew up, when species learned to settle their differences through diplomacy rather than warfare. And it all began when a human armada emerged from the darkness without warning, carrying not weapons of destruction, but an offer of hope.